must leave. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action. Other police action may include actual physical removal, the use of and or less lethal munitions, which could cause risk of injury to those who remain.
On May 13, 2015, Reuters reported that psychiatric drugs lead to the deaths of over 500,000 people aged 65 and over in the West. That's the US, UK, the known Western world. So says a Danish study. Danish scientist warns the benefits of these drugs are minimal and have been vastly overstated. Research director at Denmark's Nordic Cochrane Center, Professor Peter Ghosh, says that most of the antidepressants and dementia drugs could be halted without inflicting harm on patients. The Danish scientist's views were published in the British Medical Journal this week. His scathing analysis will likely prove controversial among traditional medics. Medics, of course, who have been trained and brainwashed on the allopathic medicine that's taught in medical schools for more than the last 100 years, due to the benevolence of the Rockefeller Foundation and others who have basically created the pharmaceutical industry, which is the most, well, part of the reason why the United States is falling so far behind is the cost of health care, and now burdening Americans with even higher costs. This is what's going on. And this analysis is fantastic, and it's mainstream, but no one's talking about it, of course. Reuters reports things, but the media just ignores them. You know, that's the way it's done, so they can't say that it's not being reported. It's just not being promoted or the information being put together. The piece is not put together because Big Pharma is the #1 advertiser on all these media networks.
For many adults, Humira is proven to help relieve pain and stop further joint damage.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal events such as infections, lymphoma, or other types of cancer have happened. Blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure have occurred. Before starting Humira, your doctor should test you for TB. Ask your doctor if you live in or have been to a region where certain fungal infections are common. Tell your doctor if you have had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have symptoms such as fever, fatigue, cough, or sores. You should not start Humira if you have any kind of infection.
Ask your doctor if Humira can work for you. This is Humira at work.
You know, it's the mighty dollar that counts, not the health of the people. Besides, they're trying to get rid of the majority of us, and the World Health Organization says cancer rates are going to go up 57% in the next 20 years. How they know that, I don't know. But medical treatment is the #3 killer worldwide. Here in America, 440,000 people die every year from proper medical treatment that is prescribed by doctors and physicians and properly executed, as far as just people doing what their doctors say and resulting in death. People doing what the pharmaceutical industry's drugs say and ending in death. This is just what's happening. It's not a coincidence. It certainly isn't that this is going on. In fact, the emotional toxicity of these austerity programs are also eroding mental health. Over 400 experts have come to that conclusion. So all of this Obamacare and all of this, it's just doping up the, you're getting people in this mental health system. They talk about the guns, right? I think this whole thing with the guns and using these mental illness, people with mental illness and all of these shootings and events partially has to do with beefing up the selling of narcotics, selling of these, I call them narcotics, but they're psychotropic drugs, antipsychotic drugs. Concern is mounting among doctors and scientists worldwide that psychiatric medication is doing more harm than good. In particular, they say antipsychotic drugs have been overprescribed to many dementia patients in a bid to calm agitated behavior. Gosha warns psychiatric drugs kill patients year in and year out and hold few positive benefits. He says in excess of 500,000 citizens across the Western world, age 65 and over, die annually as a result of taking these drugs. Quote, their benefits would need to be colossal to justify this, but they are minimal, he writes. Given their lack of benefit, I estimate we could stop almost all psychotropic drugs without causing harm. And that's true, we could, and there are alternatives. You see, but once you go outside of the medical mafia, big pharmaceutical trust that controls so much of what's going on in our healthcare, our insurance, everything. They're in there with the, our politicians are all in the pockets of these pharmaceutical companies. Make no mistake about it. And the insurance companies. So it's not in their best interest, or the insurance companies and the big pharma companies' best interest, to find something that costs $5 when they're trying to make $50 or $500 on something that they could sell you that does the same thing. It's like the biggest fraud, next to the Federal Reserve, of course, this medical mafia. It's part of a long-term eugenics depopulation program. The Human Genome Project is involved. You have all of this DNA splicing and editing. They're not going to have targeted pharmaceutical drugs to your DNA. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, believe you me, this is how they're going to start working on their depopulation program, right as all things in the New World Order. It's right in front of your eyes, happening right before your eyes. But you submit, in many cases, somewhat knowingly. It's incredible that they can pull this off. And they're pulling it off. But we're waking people up. People are waking up, and it's causing a problem because we are what they call the lunatics, the crazies and all of that. When the fact of the matter is that it's the other way around. Kocha, who is also a clinical trials expert, says drug trials are funded by big pharmaceutical companies, and they tend to produce biased results because many patients took other medication prior to the tests. Of course. He says patients cease taking the old drugs and then experience a phase of withdrawal prior to taking the trial pharmaceuticals, which appear highly beneficial at first. Nice. Isn't it beautiful how they work? The Danish professor also warns fatalities from suicides in clinical trials are significantly underreported. In the case of antidepressant drug venlafaxine and fluoxetine, Gocha casts doubt over their efficacy. He says depression lifts in placebo groups given fake tablets almost as promptly as groups who partake in official clinical tests. Well, what do you know? Skewed results. Skewed, in and out of the pharmaceutical industry to the FDA, just like with Monsanto, with the food aspect of it. We have a criminal enterprise operating to profit off of the slow killing of the population of the world. Really, it is just no doubt about it. And if you're shaking your head and you're nodding you're nodding your head, then you know what I'm talking about. If you're shaking your head, you just haven't taken a deep enough glance or long enough glance at this reality that we're facing here. Given their lack of benefit, I estimate we could stop almost all psychotropic drugs without causing harm. And that is the truth. Now, of course, many experts in the field are contradicting this. They're calling him a nutcase. But others, including a diverse group of medical experts and institutions affiliated with the Nordic Cochrane Center, argue otherwise. The Nordic Cochrane Center is an independent research hub which is dedicated to scrutinizing and monitoring the effects of healthcare. So they're an independent group. It's very difficult when there are actually independent groups that have no vested interest financially. They can be truly objective, and there's such a lack of objectivity in this whole world, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's bought and sold, literally. Opinions, trends, what you like to listen to, what you like to wear, what you like to eat. Everything is influencing you in the media and the commercials and the radio commercials and the text messages, and you name it. You name it. So the debate on psychiatric drugs has gathered momentum recently. In this discussion published in the British Medical Journal, Goche's arguments are contradicted by Professor of Mood Disorders Alan Young and John Crace. Crace himself, a psychiatric patient, writes for The Guardian. That's nice. So they have a psychiatric patient who's writing for The Guardian who's against this. Crace and Young say a broad body of research indicates the drugs are effective and that they're just as helpful as drugs for other ailments. Well, that's probably true.
Play a role in the inflammation that comes with RA. Xeljanz can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers have happened in patients taking Xeljanz. Don't start taking Xeljanz if you have any kind of infection, unless okay with your doctor.
Just as helpful to bring about other conditions, ailments, and death. We're at the, we have to wake people up to this reality that these are not, these drugs, this is alchemy. It's a slow kill process where, they have to come up with different solutions to, why is there so much cancer? Why do all of these drugs, these new drugs that come out, cause cancer as a side effect, or other illnesses? People have to take a deep look at the pharmaceutical industry and get away from this on-the-surface stuff of puppies and kittens in the commercials and everyone happy, smiling because, they got a Viagra hard-on. I mean, there is much more beneath the veneer of the pharmaceutical industry, ladies and gentlemen. So these critics of Goche, both Young and Crace, acknowledge concern over the side effects and effectiveness of psychiatric medication. Quote, for some critics, the onus seems often on the drugs needing to prove the innocence from the causing harm rather than a balanced approach to evaluating the available evidence. Whether concerns are genuine or an expression of prejudice is not clear, but over time many concerns have been found to be overinflated. Really, about side effects, people killing themselves, people having all sorts of terrible reactions to the psychotropic drugs. I mean, again, unfortunately, the medical profession is exactly that. It is a business, and it has evolved from something where they really care about the patients to they care about profits and they care about keeping the status quo. Because if the status quo changes, these people are out of a job. In fact, many surgeons are going to start being replaced by robots within only about 5 years. This isn't my opinion. This is all stuff you can Google. But you can get all of this information at my website, howardnima.com. I have links to a lot of important information and a lot of these info pieces like this. So please share this information. Check out Truth Talk News on YouTube, and Death to the New World Order. God bless you all. So take all this information to heart. Do your own research. Find your own truth. There is only one truth. Seek and you'll find it.